Hey there. Now in this video, we're going to talk about proportional relationships. We're going to look at a set of data and we're going to determine whether or not the relationship is a proportional relationship. And in doing so, we have to determine whether or not there is a number that we can multiply the x by to get to the y number, okay? All the way through the data set, okay? So let's look at our first set. What do we multiply 1 by to get to 4? Okay, we're going to multiply by 4, okay, to get to 4. So what do we multiply the 2 by to get to the 8? We multiply by 8. 3 to 12, we multiply by 4, and I just messed that up. It's not supposed to be an 8 there. That's supposed to be a 4. See, I'm human too. So as we look at our next one, 4 times 4 gives me 16. 5 times 4 gives me 20. So my proportional relationship. Now, this number right here that we're multiplying by, the one we put in the column all the way up and down, is called the constant of proportionality. The constant of proportionality. It is the number that you multiply everything under the input, which is the x, in order for you to get everything that's in the output, which is the y, okay? And it's the same number all the way through. So let's take a look at an example that may not work, okay? So what do we multiply 1 by to get to 6? Okay, we're going to multiply by 6. Remember, we're just dealing with multiplication here. I'm not dealing with addition. I'm not dealing with subtraction. Okay, I'm dealing with multiplication. I'm not even really dealing with the division because I'm dealing with what number do I multiply something by to get to my output. So what do I multiply 2 by to get to 7? I'm going to multiply by 3.5. Okay, now obviously we can already determine that that's not the same number right there, but we're going to go ahead and finish up the table. Anyway, so when you multiply 3 by to get to 8. We're going to multiply by 2.3, 3 repeating. All right, from 4 to 9, we're going to multiply by 2 1/4, 2.25, and multiply 5 to get to 10. We're going to multiply by 2. Now, nowhere along here are any of those numbers the same. Okay, so this one does not have a constant of proportionality. Therefore, it is not a proportional relationship. It has to have a constant of proportionality in order for it to be a proportional relationship. Okay, if it does not have that constant of proportionality, then it's not a proportional relationship. So let's look at this one. So what do I multiply 1 by to get to 1/2? 1/2 times 1/2. Okay, how do I get from 2 to 1? We multiply by 1/2. Uh-oh, that's looking pretty good. From 3 to 1.5 times 1/2. 4 to get to 2 times 1/2. And from 5 to 2.5 times 1/2. Okay, so we have a constant of proportionality. All of those numbers are the same. So my constant of proportionality, or COP, my constant of proportionality would be 1/2 or 0.5, whichever of those we would come up with, because that's how we did that. Now, what happens if you're given an equation, okay? You're given an equation, you have y equals kx, okay? You're given that. How do we determine what our constant of proportionality is if it's really difficult to find? Okay, there's an easier way to do it than going through all that time-consuming table. I just want you to make sure that you know the table works, but there is a little bit easier way. We have our equation. All of our proportional relationships can be in the format y equals kx, okay? Our output is equal to the constant of proportionality times our input, which is exactly what we showed in each of the 3 tables that we looked at. Our input times our constant of proportionality gave me my output. Input times the constant of proportionality gave me my output, okay? So that's y equals kx. So we want to find k out of just doing that and not have to go through all of that other stuff, especially if the numbers get more and more difficult as you get older. All right, so in one of our other videos, we talk about solving an equation, okay? We want to solve for, in this particular case, I want to solve for k. I want k all by itself. So because we want to find k, I want k all by itself. So I have to determine what's happening to the k. The k in this occasion is being multiplied by x. So in order to solve this, I have to undo what the equation is telling me to do. So if it's telling me I have to multiply by x, then now I have to divide by x. So I'm going to divide by x on both sides. Those two x's will cancel. I'm left with k on the right-hand side, and I have y divided by x. So to find the k, I just take my y number and divide by x. That's what this is telling me. Let's see if that's the case. If I take 4 and divide by 1, do I get 4? If I take 12, and I'm skipping around a little bit, if I take 12 and divide by 3, do I get 4? If I take 20 and divide by 5, do I get 4? Yes, I do. If I take 1, divide by 2, do I get 1/2? If I take 2.5 and divide by 5, do I get 1/2? Yes, I do. So it works in any proportional relationship. If you can divide the y number by the x number and get the same number all the way through, then you have a proportional relationship, and that's how you're going to be able to find out what your constant of proportionality is. All right, thank you.